This is the Blueprint Vegas Ultimate Recap Part 2. And if you didn't catch Part 1, it's just the video I posted about a week ago. I made a little bit of a goof. I didn't realize that Canva had a download limit to videos of no more than 2 hours. I went through all the videos, and it's a 2.5 hour video, which is kind of crazy. I've never made a 2.5 hour video before. Longest has been like an hour 15 minutes. But it truly is a lot of stuff that's pretty interesting because I listened to the whole thing. And so if you didn't catch part 1, I would suggest you watch part 1 first. And here's part 2. Thanks for joining. Blueprint had something called the Built World Challenge, which is, if you know the TV show Shark Tank, it's kind of like that. It's a pitch session that looks a little bit like Shark Tank, but no Mr. Wonderful and no Lori Greiner or anyone like that. But they did have some really good judges. They had Gene Casey, Global Head of PropTech and Innovation at Nuveen, Robin Mesereau, which is Global Innovation at PGIM Real Estate, or PGIM-RE, I guess that stands for Real Estate. Keats Ali, which is CTO of Lincoln Property Company. And the industry, there's 3 platforms that showed up. So I'll go over them individually, but there was HIO, whose CEO Jen Finn presented, Broome, whose CEO Ziggy Hallgarten presented, and Vecta, whose CEO Gareth Evans presented. So a little bit of industry context. CTOs, that's Chief Technology Officers, they are inundated with pitches. So they're getting, at least 20 per month on average, and it's just really hard to kind of sift through everything, especially if you already have a solution that kind of works well enough. Point solution fatigue is real. So again, this showed up again, and especially with the per square foot and the per tenant pricing. Again, it showed up again in another session. So I know it sounds repetitive, but it is coming up in like a lot of the sessions. So I think that for the people that are creating the technology, just take note. I'm just giving you the news. I'm telling you what I heard. The preferred model is low base costs plus a revenue share. Maybe it's 50% of savings or something. In venture capital, strong management teams and proven track records always get priority. And that's, if you're a VC company and you're looking for where to put your money, they're looking at strong management teams and track record. So I think that's kind of like the case across all industries, even in shopping centers. I mean, anytime we go and, anytime any commercial real estate company raises a fund, they're always looking at, well, what's your track record and what's your management team look like? HIO was the first one that came up. Her name's Jen Finn. This one was actually my favorite, so that was good that she was first. And what HIO does is that it provides conversational access to your internal data with 99.7% accuracy. 99, so I guess it's 0.3% inaccurate, but that's pretty good. And it interfaces through SMS, which is text message, WhatsApp, Slack, or Teams. And so I guess what it does is that you could text message your data. Like I have all of my data in Rent Manager, and I have to call her up to get a demo of this, but it might, I'm guessing that it might, I might be able to text message my all of my data and say, hey, I'm over here at Amelia Plaza. Which tenants here pay more than $20 a square foot? And it'll go and look into the rent roll and give me the answer through my Slack. I'm guessing that's what it does, but I'll let you know. And a lot of these technology companies, by the way, I am going to try to demo them for everybody because I think that they're super interesting. The guardrails that they put together for HIO are heavily tailored for the real estate industry data. So some certain jargon and terminology and just the way we do things are going to be catered for commercial real estate. And it focuses on your company's proprietary materials. And by doing that, it reduces the hallucinations. It identifies unknown friction. So this is kind of interesting. So one of the, I guess, the hidden or the unanticipated benefits of having something like this, where like you roll this out to your whole company and you can say, okay, just text message or WhatsApp this bot anything you want about the portfolio, and I think there's going to be permissions and things like that, so not everyone can get access to all of the info, and you're going to get an answer. And maybe the answer is that you don't have permission to get this information, or they might not have the answer. But what it does is that if your whole team, let's say you have like 20 property managers, 20 leasing people, 20 accountants, as they're asking questions, if the same question keeps on popping up, that immediately lets you know that, hey, there's certain policies and certain processes that we need to fix or we need to really figure out. And when I said that they might not have the answer, there is like a real human involved in that. If your internal data doesn't have the answer to give to the person asking it, it gets routed to someone that a human that really knows the answer. And the quote is that her quote is that Jen's quote is that you ask and answer the question once, and the agent remembers it forever. So it goes into a queue that said, hey, this is a question that we couldn't figure out from an AI standpoint. What's the answer? Once that has been answered, that's it. It's set. Anytime anyone else asks it, it will give the right answer every time after that. So if you think about it from an iteration process, over the course of a year, like 90% of the potential questions are going to be asked, and then you're going to have a really good library of answers, and your internal data will also be growing at the same time. And the website is www.hio.com. The next one is Broom. Broom is an AI tool specifically for commercial real estate, and unlike generic large language models, it reads, summarizes, and tags everything in a document or in a portfolio specifically for commercial real estate. An example would be that so how is this different than some of the stuff that you've already seen? And the example that Ziggy gave was that imagine you gave financial statements that are institutional level, like institutional level P&L into the system. But you said, hey, I want to compare this institutional level, property, this property with this institutional level type of data, but I got these other financial statements from a mom and pop owner that doesn't really work on computers, and they gave it to me handwritten, let's just say. You pop both in, and even though one is institutional and one's written on a napkin, it can still compare. And so that is the difference compared to what is out today. I haven't used it firsthand, but that was how he presented it. And he said that brokers can organize thousands of files in seconds, and buyers can underwrite comparable properties more efficiently. So I guess if you think, and it integrates with Dropbox, SharePoint, and it does like one-click analysis and organization. And so if you think about it, maybe you're an acquisitions team. It's like Saglo, we looked at over 500 properties in calendar year 2025 so far, and it is October 1st, 2025. And what if we were able to just drop, I don't know, like 30 offering memorandums into our folder of potential properties that we'd be interested in, and just ran this through and said, look, I know there's different rent roll formats, there's different P&L formats, there's just, it's all different brokers and different levels of information. Just run your analysis through it and give me what you got, and maybe, I'm not sure how it fills in the blanks of information that's lacking, but the idea is that if you increase your throughput on analyzing, like instead of it taking you, I don't know, like a month to analyze 30 properties and it took you an hour, Um, then you can look at even more properties, and it's almost like finding a needle in a haystack. Like if you, it's actually very much like finding a needle in a haystack, because sometimes it takes us looking at 500, 200, 300 properties to find one that we would buy. But, and kind of like a needle in a haystack, if you just had a machine that can like work like a robot that could just work through a haystack really quickly and find that needle in like an hour instead of a month, think of how many needles you'd be able to find, right? So that's exactly the same analogy. And that would be the platform called Broome, Broome. The third one is called Vecta, and that's with CEO Gareth Evans. And and I actually sat with him at lunch. Really interesting guy, and he has a lot of history and experience in the energy space. I think he was in Australia for a little bit and other parts of the world for quite some time, but always in the energy space. And his platform is for energy optimization and retail portfolios. And I'm gonna kind of read this because, like, I'm not in this space very much, so I can't iterate on it too much. But the models, so it models which properties are the best candidates for solar panels, either roof or canopy capacity, battery storage, to cut peak demand charges, EV charging stations, adding NOI through revenue sharing or tenant retention. And it just models all of that to figure out which properties in your portfolio make the most sense for any of that stuff, right? And then let's just say you have a property that makes a lot of sense to do a few EV charging stations and maybe a solar roof or something like that. Then it runs a marketplace bidding process for contractors, to get you the best contractors at the best price, and very thorough as well. And then the strategy module enables multi-state rollouts. So I guess if you have like a national portfolio, it can prioritize the centers with the fastest payback, and align with the state incentive deadlines. So there could be some states that are offering deadlines for these kind of green initiatives. And if you have a portfolio that spans like 48 states, you might say, well, let me start with California, or I don't know. I'm not sure which states offer this, but so it's a side of a business, and it phases the projects to match budget or capital raise schedules. And it's not a side of the business that I touch a lot, just simply because we don't do a lot of that in our shopping centers. But I could see that if there's an institutional company that has, like stuff all over the country, how this would make sense, especially for industrial and office. So some of the key takeaways from the session are that um, operators want integration and measurable ROI. Fancy features matter less than solving operational pain points. Pricing models must evolve. Shared savings and performance-based models resonate the most. Purpose-built solutions win. Commercial real estate specific tools like Broom and Vecta stand out against generic AI. And meaning that, a lot of people are using ChatGPT right now and Gemini, but like out of the box, no customization, no special instructions or anything. That is a completely different thing than working with something like Broom or Vecta or something like that, where it's just highly specialized. Sustainability plus efficiency is the opportunity with EV charging and solar and energy storage and so forth. One more session that I'll talk about is Brad Hargreaves. Not really a session, he was the intro speaker on, I think, the second or third day. And I'm only going to touch on this one part of what he said. He mentioned a few brand new cities that have been built and created in the United States. And I thought to myself, brand new entire cities, brand new. And why is that remarkable is because they are taking very modern ideas in these new cities that they're building to just make life more pleasant. And he mentioned two. One I've heard about, the other one I haven't. The first one is cul-de-sac, and that's in Arizona. And I've seen it in a few other YouTube videos. And cul-de-sac is a brand new city that doesn't have any cars in there. I think there's a small parking lot right outside of the city or the community, but inside of it you walk or bicycle or skateboard or whatever, but there's no cars. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I'll have to go check out one of the other YouTube videos on that. And the other city was called Seabrook in Washington State. And that is a brand new city. I guess it's on the water, on the sea. It's very charming. It almost feels like, like the coast of Italy or something like that. And I think that that might be a good model that goes against the grain of your Manhattans and Brickell Avenue, South Miamis of the world. Now I'm going to run through a list of the notable people that I met and spoke with throughout the conference. These are just one-on-one meetings, not even meetings. I just bumped into them and just started talking to them, and thought that there was some interesting people. And these also include some of these people I'm speaking with. Not only are people I just happen to sit next to at lunch or breakfast, but also people that I bumped into at their booths. There's a few booths that are being displayed in the exhibit hall. First one is Keith Dunham. So he is a CEO of Empower Transactions, and he was one of the first people I met at the networking cocktail hour. And one of the really interesting things that I found out about him is that he is one of the founders of OpsCity. And if you are a realtor, you know what OpsCity is. It is a lead generation marketing kind of software that routes leads to your cell phone. My wife had gotten a lot of leads from OpsCity back in the day, and Realtor, the National Association of Realtor, bought OpsCity a few years ago for like $200 million. So I think he did pretty well. Another person I met is named Simon Chen. He is CEO of Arrival Home Loans. And I thought this was pretty interesting, is that his company provides private debt, short-term loans for people who bought a new house without selling their old one yet. So, right? So you're trying to sell your house. You haven't sold it yet, but there's another house that you're like, gosh, that's the perfect house. I have the opportunity to buy it, but I'd really like to sell my house first. I have the money. This person will give you a home loan to cover, I guess, the new house. I don't know, cover both. In any case, he solves that problem, which is pretty cool. Another person, his name is Song Cao, CAO, and he is the CEO of Alpha Vision. And this is actually really cool. I'm going to do probably, I know I have to follow up with him. I saw him multiple times, went to his booth. He has crazy advanced security camera technology. And Alpha Vision, so it's security cameras, but on a whole nother level. He takes those, just think of the hardware. You have security camera footage. There's usually in a 100,000 square foot shopping center, you have about 30 security cameras running 24 hours a day. And if you are in operations, you can appreciate this. Is that if you're in operations and you want to know, hey, did my parking lot sweeper actually at 2 in the morning sweep the whole parking lot, or did they just kind of like drive right through for 5 seconds? You can prompt the cameras or prompt the technology, which will look through all the cameras and say, hey, did my parking lot sweeper go through all of the parking lot last night? And it's smart enough to know what a parking lot sweeper truck looks like. It's smart enough to know what a parking lot looks like, and it's smart enough to know, did it move through the whole parking lot? That's one example. Another example would be, just alert me every time my dumpster overflows. The minute that your dumpster overflows, because it knows what a dumpster is and it knows what overflowing looks like, it alerts you right away. You can just say, hey, show me all of the camera frames that a security guard walked by, because you don't need to program, like, it just knows what a security guard is because of the uniform, and it might have the word security, it might have a badge You just know what a security guard looks like, and it's smart enough to know that. And you could say, well, did the security guard go by all of the cameras uh, in an hour? So did they do their patrol? And so think of all of the use cases, right? Hey, you might say, well, I want to know, I want to get alerted the minute that someone looks like they tripped and fell. And it knows what a tripping action looks like. And if they fell, it automatically alerts you. So it's like having eyes on the property all of the time. It is so crazy. I'm going to have a demo with them, so it'll probably be like a 30 to 60-minute session just on them. And I think it's going to be really fascinating. I met Zane, Zet, and number one or number two, I apologize if I'm butchering some of the names. It's just names that I don't come across as often. So if I pronounce it wrong, I apologize. The other person I met is Zev Lane, and he is president of Helios Facade. And what this company does is that it is solar panels, but vertical on the walls. And so what he's been doing is he's been installing these solar walls on the exterior of airports that can generate energy and maybe be greener, perhaps save on utility costs. I met Helene Stein, who is the CIO and EVP of Bricksmore Property Group. She is in charge of technology. They have a team of 22 that's focused just on tech. And one of the things that we talked about is that they have must be thousands of tenants, and a lot of them are nationals. And she thinks that it would be great if the industry were to coalesce around one platform that would process rent payments, because like they use VersaPay, we use Zego, and I'm sure there's maybe a dozen other payment platforms out there that if you're a tenant and you have, hundreds of locations and you're trying to pay your rent, it's like, do I log into Zego one day and then right after log into VersaPay and then log into this other thing and this other thing and this other thing? Let's just get it down to like one thing, right? I think that would be great for both the retailer and great for the landlord as well. So if you are a technology person and you're reading this, that could be an option. Maybe it's built. Hey, Jan, built rewards, shopping centers. Come on, I think that, there's a lot, like I said, $1 trillion of transactions per year in the shopping center space, moving from rent to landlord. Helene also mentioned that they have their own custom GPT that's 97% accurate, which means that the data still needs to be validated. Kind of going back to, look, if you're a multi-billion-dollar company, that 3% inaccuracy rate can be pretty meaningful. Another person I met, this one's a good, this is a really good, this is a good instance. So I met someone named Yoni Natal, and he is the chief business officer for a company called CFS. And I'll tell you what they do, and then the interesting story. So what CFS does is that they provide scorecards on how well retailers do in any one location. And they are taking into account dozens of factors, 40, 50 different factors. And they customize the factors that they look at depending on the retailer or depending on more the use category. So for example, they keep fine-tuning their model just for drugstores until they figure out the right mixture of what is the most important for successful drugstores and to be successful, and why are not successful drugstores not successful. And they keep massaging their algorithm until there's a really strong correlation. So right now I think they're doing this for, I want to say like 100 different types of use categories right now. So coffee, drugstores, like the ones that are really popping up right now that people have a high interest in. And he walked me through a demo and it seemed to be pretty accurate. Now the story here that's kind of interesting is that one of the people that he works with is John Gersberg, who works at Marcus & Millichap. And if you were to have seen my ICSC Florida recap video, you would know that John Gersberg was the last person to walk out of ICSC Florida conference as on the last day of the show as they were turning off the lights and kicking everyone out, and I was walking with him out because as you know, the golden hour, I'm walking around seeing who's there and what kind of interesting things I can find out from the people that are staying there all the way to the end, and he tells me about CFS. And as we're walking out of the conference, he's telling me about CFS. I find it very interesting, and we're going to set up a talk. At the Blueprint conference, I'm sitting at a session, and Yoni's sitting right behind me. And so he sees me, he recognizes the name. I turn around, and he's like, "Hey, you're Hugh." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he's like, "Hey, I'm friends with John Gersberg." I was like, "Oh my gosh," you know. And so we started talking there, and from there he did the demo, and it's a really great platform. So the moral of the story is that networking works, staying till the end of the conference works, and you never know who you're going to bump into. And actually, I bumped into Kevin Cush, who's president of PMAT. They are a landlord based out of New Orleans, and they own shopping centers across the United States. And it's interestingly enough, as Kevin's walking by, and Kevin and I go way back. He's a great guy, by the way. My wife and I have been to New Orleans, and he's hosted us at a restaurant, and him and his team are awesome. He's walking by, and I know Kevin's like a big techie, and I'm like, "Hey, Kevin, come over, check this out," because I figure if Yoni's gonna do Yoni with CFS is going to do a demo for me, let me just have him do it for Kevin also, so that it can be a 2-for-1. And Kevin's blown away by it, and he's like, "Sign me up. I'll be your customer. Sign me up for a dozen credits or however much." So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, he gave me a few interesting ideas or interesting platforms to check out. That there's platforms that scan news sources from your CRM, and if there's news on that contact, it sends you an alert, and then you can use that to leverage an opening for someone that you might want to speak with. So I thought that was pretty cool. Next contact is Alex Morren with RentFlow. So what RentFlow does as a landlord, I got to really figure this one out because I just don't know how they actually don't go. I'll explain it and you'll see what I mean. So what he said was that as a landlord, Saglo's a landlord, we're going to get the rent on the first of the month, no matter what. They pay us. RentFlow pays us the rent on behalf of the tenant. And then they get rent from the tenant as part out of the tenant's cash flow from operations, right? So sometimes if you're at property management or accounting, sometimes the tenant's like, "Hey, I can't afford the rent, but let me pay you as I make money." And often we don't like that, but sometimes we do that. And what this company does, I guess, is that they say, "Hey, we'll pay you what the tenant owes you on the first, and we'll get it from the tenant as they make money." And so I said, "Well, what's the catch? What's the cost?" And he said, "Well, the cost is 1% of the rent and $39.99. I'm going to look into that a little bit more. They apparently focus a lot on commercial, so I'll let you know if there's any validity to that. But I thought that was pretty interesting. It's called RentFlow. And next person I met was Danielle Spando with Hotspot. And what they do is that they pull data from property management systems like Rent Manager. They're actually a Rent Manager integration partner, I guess. And they provide kind of like a Power BI type of visual charts and graphs and things like that, business insights type of things. And we're going to be using something called Visata. But if we weren't using Visata, then and we already signed up with them, I'd look at Hotspot. Next person I met was Devish Modi with Track 3D. And what this platform does is that it uses your phone's camera and it tracks changes on construction projects. So think of it like you walk through a construction project and you just scan it with your phone, and you do that every 5 days or something like that. And it's smart enough to pick out all of the changes and say, hey, these things change, and this was the progress that was made. And I guess it can identify things that change down to the actual thing. They can label it drywall or plumbing or electrical. I don't know to the detail of what it can do, but it seems to be a pretty robust system. The next person I met was Vin Vomero, who is the CEO of Foxy AI. And what they do is that they inspect, it's an inspection and valuation tool using video and analytics. So what it does is that, and it's mostly used for residential. So what it does is that you take a video of a home and the exterior of the home, the inside of the home, and all around the perimeter, and it takes all of that data, like fence data, wall data, lights, and things like that, and it compiles it, and it tells you maybe what they think your property's worth using some sort of algorithm. But from the inspection, and that's one side of it, but from the inspection side, which is the one that I spoke to him a little bit more about, it tells you what's wrong with your property, and it labels it. It might say like your fence is cracked, or your walls need to be repainted, or it kind of gives you an inventory of all the things that it sees. I thought, it could be interesting. There's another company called Ken, or another person I met called Ken Kim, and he is with 3i AI / Pivo Real Estate. And Pivo is a tool that helps with social media content for real estate pros. So what I think it is it's like a one-click solution that you upload some photos, maybe an image of yourself, and it uses AI to just create something that's good for TikTok or Instagram in like seconds. I think that's what it does. And 3i is similar to Matterport, but with time stamping and location stamp. I didn't demo it, so I'm not exactly sure what that does, but the social media part seemed pretty cool. I also sat at lunch with someone named Boris Gopka. He's with Tenera, and he actually used to work for a Canadian REIT out of Toronto. And what his system does, Tenera is spelled Tenera. What he realizes that, and he's an engineer, what he realizes that you may need engineering plans for some things that are very common in the shopping center space, like stairs or ADA improvements or whatever. And what they do is that they use, I guess, visual technology, like just your camera phone, and identify what it is that you need. And using AI, it just generates the engineering plans right away so that it's super fast and super cheap. I'll have to have my project manager check that out and let us know if we can use it. Another gentleman that was super interesting that I met, his name is Vitali with Vitali Haida with Nomad. And so this is a young guy. He's from Ukraine, and what his business is are these really experiential glamping type of Airbnb homes that are located in rural areas. So right now, I think he has 6 glamping gorts, or I think was it called gerts, which is like I think it's called a gert. So these kind of glamping tents that house up to 10 people. And these tents, like I guess they're pre-manufactured house that kind of look like tents, glamping. They're made in Ukraine. They're shipped to the United States, and he buys the land. He sets up these really cool, camping Instagrammable type of places that you can rent on Airbnb for like $700 a night, and it's a great business. So he told me he has I think 6, and I believe that he wants to get to like 100 locations. And his website is nomadv.com. I also met someone named Rafael Ortega with RakeML, and they have technology that is, I think, drone based, that will let you know how much life is left on your roof using AI. and he lives in South Florida. So I'm going to vet that out and let you know. Met another person named Keith Harris, who's a senior account executive for a net vendor. And what this company does is that they have 200,000 vendor relationships across the country, and they expedite the RFP process and bidding process for vendors, for commercial real estate companies. And it increases transparency, and it increases speed with the technology. And it also integrates with Rent Manager, which is kind of cool. It helps with creating the scope of work. It helps with expediting getting answers from vendors, and it helps with maybe even the quality control of the vendors that are showing up to bid on your project. And then I think that it has some sort of equalization AI to make sure that all the vendors are bidding the same way on the same scope of work, and so that you have ability to compare apples to apples. Another person I met was Sunil Raman, and his company is called Hamlet, which is really interesting. This company taps into the municipality agenda. If you go to city council meetings anywhere in the country, it's usually streamed now, or at the minimum, it's recorded and then uploaded to their city portal. So what this company does is it monitors, like, I don't know, a few hundred municipalities across the country to constantly listen to what they're talking about. And then it has enough analytics in there where it can give you an idea of where it is easiest or the most beneficial for you to develop as a developer. So some of their existing customers are DR Horton, Prologis, etc. So if you're a developer and you want to know, well, where in Florida is the easiest place for me to develop or has the most need, you can go to Hamlet and just tap all of the historic recordings of all those municipal discussions, those town halls, all of that stuff, and it'll tell you, hey, it's Lakeland or something like that. Or on the opposite, where should I avoid, right? So which municipalities are giving developers the hardest time, and maybe you avoid those ones. So I thought that was really, really cool. I've never heard of anything like that. I also bumped into Bernard Camaro and Emma Bankert with Matterport. And if you don't know, Matterport was recently acquired by CoStar. And one of the things I learned from that meeting was that with Matterport, you can actually create CAD files just with the Matterport. Like you're doing a Matterport video thing, or that's really video. It's like 360-degree cameras, and then that itself can create CAD files. Super cool. I also met James King with Fifth Dimension AI, and this is a pretty interesting company because they do a lot of different things. And some of the things that the way that they describe it is that it's AI toolkits for all of your core workflows. AI toolkits for all of your core workflows. And some of the things that they provide would be maintenance cost estimations, lease abstracts, deal analysis, rent roll validation, tenant sentiment analysis. So they have just like a really long laundry list of things that they're doing. It sounded like they're super knowledgeable about this stuff, so I got to follow up them and do some demos and kind of get a list of maybe some of the other companies that they work with and figure out if they're pretty legit. But if they are, I mean, they do like 50 different things, which is pretty interesting, and they're all in. It's all for commercial real estate. Next person I met was Josh Shapiro, Zachary Shapiro, and Tom O'Loughlin, and they're with a company called RealQuant. And what this company does is it does acquisition deal analysis using AI. So yeah, I mean, those are some of the really interesting people that I had met at the conference, individual people. I was able to a couple of other shout outs for dinners. I was invited to the ICSE dinner. They had a great job in bringing the retail leaders together at the dinner on the first night. Thank you for inviting me. And then I had dinner with all the panelists on my panel, and thanks to Next Rivet, to David for hosting, and Kyle. So his partner is Kyle Spencer, who's also co-founder of Next Rivet. So the two of them hosted us, and that was really fun. So I know this is super long, but thanks if you're still around. Thanks for watching. Technology, this is a lot. I mean, Blueprint was like, it's totally worth it, but it was a lot of information, and I'm trying to give it to you as efficient as possible. I'm also posting this as a LinkedIn article, so if you got to this point, you probably watched the whole video, but if you wanted the text version of it, it'll be on my LinkedIn. And look, if you enjoy really long form content that goes super deep on commercial real estate topics, please subscribe, like, comment below, share it with a friend, and thanks for watching.
The heartbeat of the street. Let them know. Bright light pulls in, a new year begins. Forget the emails, let the real work commence. 4,000 pros walking